Hey ladies, welcome to another episode of the Femalepreneur Coach podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Barr, and I am so excited for today's episode. I'm joined today by Rhiannon, who is an absolute PR powerhouse. She's an agency owner. She's also a visibility coach for ambitious female entrepreneurs that are ready for that next level of success and visibility. But also, she is just Rhiannon is a party in a person. If ever there was somebody with an energy level that matched my own, it is you. So I knew whenever we come on, I'm like, I cannot wait to speak to you. But welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Oh, we're gonna have such a fun time.
Oh, I know, literally. We just had like I always do the little pre-show chat, and there's just so many things that we could talk about today. I'm super excited, and I've actually realized even more so the message and the stuff that you can kind of bring, the value that you can bring to the lady that are going to be listening today is actually next level because it's actually much deeper than what we were thinking about initially. But what would be really great is if you wouldn't mind just kind of officially introducing yourself to the ladies so they really know what kind of, badass they're dealing with. That would be amazing.
Okay, thank you so much. So yeah, as Rebecca has said, I am Rhiannon and I run Garnet PR. So we are a boutique PR agency serving female entrepreneurs. So we're looking at that sort of scaling to six figures, six, seven, multi-seven figure entrepreneur who wants to get featured in the press. And we're looking at helping them to really explode their profile by being in the press, being on podcasts, speaking on stages, like doing all the next level stuff outside of social media. And then, of course, we've got the coaching and mentoring side of the business. So that's where I act as a business mentor and visibility coach to help the perhaps earlier stage female entrepreneurs with setting up and scaling and growing their businesses and starting to bring in all that juicy visibility and maybe even starting to dabble in PR. So there's something for everyone, and it's just it's an absolute dream. It's such a beautiful space to be a part of, as you well know, because we are
Yeah.
in the same space together and getting to work with just incredible women who are, passion and purpose driven, who want to create these incredible, beautiful, magical lives for themselves and not be dictated to by a boss or, having a 9 to 5 or any of that, like getting to actually fulfill their soul's purpose. It's just so magical to be a part of.
Yes. Oh my God. And the ripple effect of that as well going forwards, like for the collective. I'm super spiritual, Rhiannon, if you didn't know. But yeah, I absolutely love that we essentially get to facilitate that and just be
Yeah.
part of that process and that journey. Because, no biggie, but we're just kind of making the world a better place, one
Oh,
client at a
love
time. So
that.
that feels really exciting. But just, yeah, I love the evolution as well, because that visibility coaching piece as well. It's really getting women to essentially embody what they're here to do, which feels really exciting. So I'd love to know, like, what kind of drew you to this work initially? Have
Yeah,
you
I love
come
what you
from
just said
corporate and
then.
moved into it, or you've always been in this kind of PR space?
Yeah, so I was in corporate, I was in charities, started my career there. I actually did my degree in events management and did a bit of PR in there. So it's kind of been my whole career has been in this space. Started out in charities, environmental and conservation charities, which is an absolute dream, working with celebrities, setting up celebrity engagement ambassador programs and doing commercial PR. So very similar to what I do now. And over, I think that was probably about 10 years I spent doing that. Then I moved up to Yorkshire from London for a man, which I'm very happy to say we are married. That worked out. Yay.
It was
um,
worth the move.
it was worth the move, yeah. Went into an agency, which was a great experience. Like, taught me a lot about running my own agency because I'd always been in what we call in-house, so actually working in a business. And that was such a great experience because I was very senior. It taught me a lot about how to run a business, how to run a PR agency, how to win business, all of these things that actually I'd never had to do before. But it was very business to business. It was very corporate. So I went from working with environmental charities and conservation charities and celebrities and all of these amazing people, like, harnessing their power of their profile and helping them to raise awareness of causes, which is very similar to what I do now, just in a different guise, to then working for things like house builders. It was not my vibe at all. So, so I looked at what I could do, what my background was, and just naturally sort of thought, right, I'm just going to go for this. So I started my own little PR agency working in rural lifestyle and tourism brands, which was similar to my background, much more, travel, commercial stuff. It was great. But over that first year of the business, I noticed a pattern of attracting female business owners.
Yeah.
So it was just naturally evolving. And I was having people coming to me asking me for mentoring. How do I do PR? How do I get visible? How can I grow my business? So over time, that naturally then evolved into what you see today, the iteration of Garnet PR you see today, which is very much about those female entrepreneurs, those female business owners who want to start, scale, and grow their businesses and harness the power of PR and visibility to really explode what they're doing, to really take things to a next level and create those legacy brands. So it's all kind of, yeah, come from the very beginning. I've always been doing something like this, but it's just over the last few years where Garnet PR has really evolved into being what it is today. And it's so exciting. And there's so much evolution still to come, which I just cannot wait
Yeah.
for.
This is like just the beginning, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it just feels so amazing as well. Like you say, working with those female entrepreneurs that are ready for that next level, because it is a challenge, isn't it? So, what would you say is like the mindset journey or issues or challenges, opportunities that women need to go through in kind of starting to own that space as an expert and for somebody that is ready for that next level?
Yeah, I know we talked about this just before
Yeah.
we got on the show about actually the definition of expert. So a lot of people struggle with this. I see a lot of women struggling with this, like holding their space as an expert because they feel they're not one. And actually, all you need to remember is that to be an expert, you've just got to be a few steps ahead of someone else, or to be a person in a room that knows the most on your subject, really. So, like in an average room, are you the person who knows the most on your subject? Chances are, yes, that would classify you as an expert. So that's a real mindset shift that I really help my clients to go through because they need to be willing and ready to stand in that space and own their power as the expert that they are in order to show up in the most powerful way that they possibly can. So
Yeah.
that's the first thing. And then imposter syndrome is a really massive thing. Like this happens. And you know what? It happens at all levels. I had a
Yeah.
client a couple of years ago and she was absolutely smashing it, like amazing business, multi six figures. And when she came to me to start doing PR and add that into the mix to take things even further, like she loved doing the print stuff. And when we got an interview on the radio, my goodness me, it was like, boom, imposter syndrome. It was sick.
Oh, sorry. 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 Sorry, there was an outside noise there, but I'm sure anybody on the podcast will absolutely know that sometimes there's things going on in the background. So sorry about that. But yes, sorry,
Don't worry. Okay, so yeah, so when we secured this radio interview for our client, it was like imposter syndrome straight away popped
really.
up.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting that even though she was at this very, what you deem as a successful level, making multiple six figures, selling out her programs, this thing happened that then pushed her out of her comfort zone. So
Yeah.
it's just a little bit of I see it a lot at the beginning,
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. See it a lot in the early stages, the first sort of year or two when you're going through all of that discomfort, you're going through all of those up levels quite rapidly. And
Yeah.
then it sort of slows down a bit, you're still growing and scaling, but you're looking at the 1% as
Yeah.
opposed to the big things. But imposter syndrome can come up at every single level, every single growth level. It's all about stepping out of your comfort zone. So this is the big thing that I work on with my clients in terms of the visibility coaching and with the PR clients, really, to an extent.
Yeah.
It's all
Well,
about
that's fantastic that they've got that level of support, because absolutely with every new level of success requires a new level of self-belief, because like you say, it's
yeah,
moving from even the early stages where it's like I'm somewhat of an expert and I can help people and I can start going out there and receiving money for my services, to then okay, yeah, I'm now ready to own this and take it further.
yeah.
um and it's just such a challenge, isn't it? But I think it comes from, and I don't know about you, but what I find, it's because it's this perception of needing to be perfect, needing to
Mm-hmm.
be at a certain level of success before you can really claim it, and put yourself out there as an expert. And there's a lot of things that kind of perpetuate their cycle on social media, isn't it? That's why I feel like
Oh
for
yeah.
me as a coach, I'm definitely all about being authentic, about staying in your zone of genius, like just do you, boo. And like literally now, like the audio's going crazy. Well, I've got 5 kids and a dog and everything else. I don't think anybody is under any illusion that I am absolutely polished and perfect at all times. But do you know what? Doesn't matter. I still show up
No.
and serve my clients. I still make money in my business, and I'm still owning my space. And that's what I want for more women, which I'm
Yeah.
sure is for the same for you. Is that part of the process that you go through with your clients?
Yeah, 100%. And actually, it's really interesting. My team and I were discussing our ideas for our PR clients for the next kind of upcoming 6 months yesterday. And we were talking about how perfectionism is almost replacing imposter syndrome at the moment. We're
Yeah.
seeing so much of it. And especially for women, it's all about like feeling the need to be perfect. And it's kind of a societal, ingrained belief, isn't it, that, we shouldn't do things, we shouldn't fail, we shouldn't be trying and not, not succeeding. Whereas
Yeah.
actually, like, the beauty is in the experimentation, the curiosity, the
Yeah.
things not being perfect. Like, how much more real is that? Like, things are not perfect. I was saying to you beforehand, like, my background is a bit messier than I would like it to be.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, that's not
Yeah.
what people are going to listen to or watch for. They're going to listen to our conversation,
Yeah.
And I think it's about maybe releasing that need to have everything sorted and trusting the journey a bit more and getting curious and playing and experimenting and just stepping out of your comfort zone and seeing how that feels and what happens. And there's a big piece of that invisibility, because you're not going to know exactly everything. You're not going to get it right every single second of the day. But if you hold yourself back and wait until everything is perfect, like, the people that are waiting to hear from you, to see you, who need your magic, aren't going to be able to find you. Like, we've got a responsibility to just take action and show up and serve,
Yeah.
because we help so many people by doing that. So if we're waiting for the perfect moment, which is never going to come, then you're doing yourself a disservice, you're leaving money on the table, and you're not helping the people that need you. So doesn't it feel better to just go for it and figure it out later, and actually not worry about things being perfect, because reality isn't perfect. Like, it's all about the messy middle. That's life. So why
Yes.
should
Oh, I
it
love
be
that.
any
The messy
different?
middle. Yeah, I absolutely love that. And also, I mean, we have to be honest, hold our hands up as women. There is a secondary gain in
Mm.
waiting for this impossible benchmark to be hit. It's avoidance,
Oh
essentially.
yeah.
If we're really honest, it's like, well, and the amount of clients that I work with as well, it's like, oh, I just need to tweak my website and I just need to, like, maybe I need to get my hair done. I just got to invest in a wardrobe, like all of these things before they will truly put themselves out there. And I'm like, no, like whenever someone says, so my goals for next year, and I'm like, okay, in that case, we're doing that next week. And they're like, what? And I'm like, because like you say, like the fun is in the creation and the journey and the evolution. And you will never
Yeah.
know until you just go out there and start doing the thing. You don't
Yeah.
become a coach until you start coaching. Like you don't become an entrepreneur until you start like doing the doing, essentially. And that's where you really
100%.
find your voice, and but also create something that's truly unique. So I guess
Yeah.
for you it must be far more exciting to work with people in that messy middle stage where they are just
Yeah.
kind of like they don't even know how great they are and what magic they've got, and you can get them at a point where rather than them becoming a cookie cutter version of what they feel they should be and a replica of lots of other people like emulating their success, you get them at the stage where you can really empower them to own that messy middle and really create something that is truly unique and amazing in the marketplace.
Yeah, 100%. And that's exactly it. Like, finding their own unique voice, their own superpowers. Like, there's a big thing. We touched on corporate earlier, and actually this is really relevant. A lot of people who come into the online space and start, as a coach or an entrepreneur, they forget that they've got all of this experience and expertise like behind them from the things
Yes,
they were doing before. And they think, I'm
yeah,
starting from scratch, so I have no authority, I have no credibility, I have nothing to say, which is just completely wrong, because you've forgotten about the 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years that you've had beforehand where you've been an expert in your thing. And there will definitely be transferable skills from that, right? You'll have learned a lot. So you'll always have something to say. You might be starting out in a new path, a new field right now, but actually you'll always have something to say. So for me, it's really beautiful to help women realize that and really come back to themselves and, unpeel the layers, and release some of this ingrained fear that they carry, just to show up, like to show up and to shine and to be who they are truly meant to be. Like, or you mentioned authenticity, so important, like authenticity, realness, all of these things are the things that are going to draw your ideal clients to you. So we don't need to be a polished perfect version of someone else. Like, we don't need to do someone else's way. I love that you mentioned no cookie cutter strategies. Like, I am so here for that. Do things your way, build your own business, craft your own path and your own success, because it's going to look different to you than to someone else. And visibility is no different to that. So for me, watching women when they come to me and then helping them to really unpeel the layers and then emerge as their real self and own that magic that they have and use their voice powerfully to influence and support and help others and share their message and mission with the world. Like that is exactly what I do it for. Like that's exactly what I'm here for. And my role in this world and in this, crazy online space is to help more women do that, to help more women get their voices out there because they need to be heard. Like, you need to be heard. So don't play small.
And there's the double blessing in that as well. Like that actually gave me chills a little bit because it's so true. Once you own that story as well. I was just doing this work with
Mm-hmm.
a client yesterday who, has had quite a traumatic, past. And as women, we hold a lot of guilt, shame,
Mm-hmm.
blame around things that have happened to us, even things that were completely outside of our control and
Yeah.
just all of the things. But when you start to own that part of yourself, you really take back your power, and that's when you truly become unstoppable and like
Yes.
genuinely like unfuckable with energy, because there's nothing that anybody can throw at you that can make you feel bad about anything, because you're owning the good, the bad, the dark, the light, the absolutely every part of you,
Yeah.
good, bad and ugly. So therefore, yeah, what else you got, and I guess that's the kind of resilience that has been missing, in my opinion, when you have people that are just kind of reality TV stars that just kind of get thrust into the spotlight, without necessarily that intention, or maybe they did,
Mm-hmm.
but they haven't owned themselves and their
Yeah.
story and their journey and who they even are. So that's when like all of those issues happen, with suddenly now amplifying that on a bigger scale, and you've got everybody's opinions and like that's gonna sort of be the undoing of even probably the most well-adjusted person. But I
Mm-hmm.
love that you are like taking the time to really like go through that process to create that unstoppable mindset before they even go out and start then
Yeah.
scaling
Yeah.
and everything else. That feels really great, and like you say, just taps into the collective, that the more women that can do that, the better the world gets to be. So
100%.
I'd love to know, like, because I am nosy, obviously, some of like your career highlights, because you're very unassuming, Rhiannon. You're like, yeah, cool, that's fine. But I'm like, just a side note for anybody that's listening, like I've seen this lady jump out the bush to get like the money shot on a picture. I have no doubt that you go above and beyond for your clients. So I'd love to know, like, just a couple of headlines from your
Yeah, of
career.
course. Yeah, I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride. There's been so many amazing moments. I think when I was working in London, so one of my previous jobs was at London Zoo. So I worked at London Zoo in the press office. I set up and established their celebrity engagement ambassador strategy. So that was amazing, amazing. So many good things from there. So I worked on Hollywood films like with Margot Robbie, people like that. I've worked on Strictly Come Dancing. Like those guys have come into the zoo and filmed quite a lot with us. So I got to work on a lot of TV and film, radio, all of that stuff. The broadcast stuff is always really glamorous and exciting. I mean, not with the long days, but it actually is super exciting to see that come to fruition. I've worked with David Attenborough a lot. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
So there's some real highlights in there for me. And then what I took from that role really transcends into this job, this career, this business, because working with high profile people who, exactly like we've talked about, own their story, know who they are, know what their magic is, like all of that gorgeous stuff really translates into what I do now for ordinary women, because really none of us are ordinary. We are all extraordinary in our own right. We are all, famous, if you like. We can all be superstars. Like, I think if anyone who follows me or comes to follow me, you will see me use the word superstar a lot. Like, you are a superstar. Everyone is a superstar. Everyone deserves their moment in the spotlight, and it doesn't have to be something that's scary. Like, that can be your own little spotlight, but everyone deserves the chance to shine. And that's what I really took from that role. Like, you're no different to the celebrities. You just need to know how to show up and shine and who for. And that is so empowering. So then when I see clients like we've worked with some amazing clients, Social Cactus, think like a Boss, Lucy Legal, there's some incredible clients that we have worked with and continue to work with to this day. And seeing them in places like The Guardian, Metro, Daily Mail, on BBC, on radio, on TV, like seeing people like that, women like that, sharing their unique superpowers and standing in their expertise and really owning that for me is just exactly what I do it for. And that's some real highlights for me. There's so many different stories that we've shared over the years, from personal stories around things like one client shared her story of freezing her eggs with Red magazine. Like, that was incredible, and it was great for her business because it raised her profile and she got to use that wonderful media logo on her on her marketing material. People sharing their money stories, that's a really great thing, because actually when you share your stories, personal and business, and your expertise and your tips, like, you inspire others, you show other women what's possible for them. But without you doing that, like, they perhaps won't believe it or don't know that it's possible. So for me, they're the highlights, like being able to get those stories out there, and then hearing from my clients that they're getting people coming to them being like, I read this, I saw this, I'm so inspired, or like signing up to work with them. I think one of our clients had her highest website hits in a day when she was featured in the Daily Mail, which I know is a controversial place, but it's the biggest, I think she was on the Mail Online, biggest online news outlet in the world. So these things work. And the people that were coming to her and messaging her are the people that needed to hear her, so
absolutely.
do it for those people. I show up for those people. That's the highlight for me.
Well, that's the thing as well, isn't it? Like, the ripple effect of one person
Yeah.
just being authentic and sharing their stories is absolutely huge, and we'll probably never know. But just like it's so exciting for me from like a money mindset perspective and a coach, when you consider all of the societal conditioning that we were exposed to as children. Like, every time somebody else changes that narrative, like, we're essentially changing the game for our daughters and what's possible
Oh my
and the
gosh,
generations to
yes.
come. Like, is
Yes. So
that
here
not
for
just,
that.
yeah, it is literally like legacy, like, based work that you're doing, really,
Yes.
because this just pushes the conversation. Like you say, even just one woman opening somebody's mindset up to the possibility of freezing their eggs, like, that's something that probably isn't going to be in their immediate circle. What's it might be actually, maybe more so now, but it could be the first time that they even knew that that was a possibility. You've now planted a seed and opened a door for somebody that would never have known what they
Yeah.
didn't know. And that's truly amazing. Like, we like to almost downplay our achievements and everything else, particularly in the coaching space and the service space,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, oh well, it's just, yeah, I just do my thing. But
Yeah.
genuinely, like, there's such a huge ripple effect from this. So I'm absolutely here for it. And I think also there's a bit of a misconception, isn't there, with women when it comes to press and PR, that it's almost like you have to be tapped on the shoulder. Like, somebody needs to come along and say, like, oh hey, you've got so many followers, you're now at, like, walk this way, you're now inside the inner circle.
Yeah.
But actually, this is something that, if you're proactive, and that you can actually, go out and claim there for yourself, can't you?
100%. Like, I see this. I actually had a really interesting conversation with someone who's a really successful coach a few months ago. And she said to me, it's quite challenging. She said to me, I believe that PR is only for multi 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs. And I was like, okay, cool, you're wrong. And we had this really interesting conversation around it, because
Yeah,
it's not like PR. The beauty in PR is you can do it for free. Like, you can get these results for free. So actually, while you're chucking thousands of pounds into Facebook ads
yeah,
that, might work, might not work, you could be doing this free thing that then will last for weeks, months, years, building your digital footprint. And that is available at any level. All you need is to have your brand foundations in place. So you need to know who you are, who you serve, have somewhere to point people, and have nailed your superpower topics, which is what we help our clients to do, because most people actually don't know what their superpower topics are. And that's fine. Like, they don't know what their story is because they've never had to sit down and dig into it. But I guarantee you that every single woman listening will have something in her story that is PRable, or will have something to say that is valuable and PRable, 100%.
yeah,
So instead of waiting and thinking it's only for the big brands, it's only for the, multi 6, 7 figure entrepreneurs, actually start now, claim your space. Like, you can do it. Absolutely. Like, start with the easier things, like, your local press. Start with the places that are writing about things that you could talk about. Like, do some research. It's fun. You get to sit down and like read magazines and look at like great news sites. So, do it with a cup of tea or a glass of wine. I'm always encouraging my clients to do this.
yeah,
Find the places that you could fit. So I love this exercise. I do this a lot with clients. It could have been me. Like, look for something that could have been you.
yeah,
Could you have shared that story? Could you have shared that tip? Like, that will then give you the confidence that there is interest out there. And remember what we said, like, circling back to what we said earlier, like, to be an expert, you only have to be a few steps ahead. You only have to have certain expertise that you can share that's going to help someone who is on the journey behind you. So PR is so possible. It is free. Once you learn how to do it, you can do it for free. It doesn't, of course you can spend thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands on PR over, weeks, months, years, if you work with, agencies, or you're throwing a lot of money into advertising to support your PR. But it doesn't have to be like that. You
yeah,
can literally start tomorrow with just the knowledge. Like you can, and do you know what? You can actually even get that knowledge for free. You could sit and Google and you could teach yourself and you can figure it out and you can learn. If you want to go faster and further, invest in someone who's been there and can teach you. But you can do it for free. You can learn online. Like you can literally learn it all. Everything's on
You've got to
Google.
like
Right? You can
trade
just Google
otherwise.
anything.
Yeah, you can trade. You've got to trade otherwise. I think it's either money or it's time. But a lot of the like, I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
yeah, absolutely love everything you said. I always refer back to the film Catch Me If You Can. Do you remember that with
yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio? And he was like, they were like, "How did you do it?" And he was like, "Well, I just read two chapters ahead. Like when I was being a university lecturer, I just read two chapters ahead, and that made me an
Right.
expert." And sometimes we feel like we need to have been in business for a certain period of time. We need to look a certain way. We need to have done certain things, and even like as a business coach, the amount of really great business coaches that I know that are like, oh, I haven't quite yet hit my six figures, so I can't even get out there and really like get behind what it is I'm offering. And I'm like, but not everybody is looking for six figures. They just,
No.
there's people there that just want that intimate high touch, like so that want what you share, like your particular method, your particular way, your energy or whatever. But what's interesting to me is when I've mentioned this before about even free press, a lot of people feel like they're almost annoying people by wanting to tell their stories. And I'm like, no, they're actively like looking. Like you're
Yeah.
saving somebody a job in giving them a story. That's one less thing they've got to do that day in finding a story. So
No,
they'll actually be, yeah, they'll be
100%.
grateful.
No. Yeah, so journalists are busy, and actually over the last few years, print press has decreased a little bit, so it is a bit more competitive, and the teams are a bit smaller. That means they are looking for things to come to them. Like it's a very common misconception that we're annoying journalists, and there's a bit of a battle between journalists and PRs. Like PRs want to land the story, journalists want the story, but they don't want to deal with the PRs because PRs want to get their messages across. But actually, for entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs in particular, it's about knowing what the story is that will be of interest to the audience of the publication. If you can nail that, there's nothing annoying about it. If you're selling and you're like, hey, this is my new service, come and buy it, that's not PR, that's advertising. So pay for that. If you want
Yeah.
to feature somewhere and you want to say that, that is advertising your services. That is not telling a story. So it's storytelling, not selling. That's the key with PR. But they're looking for stories. Like journalists are literally active. I get hundreds of requests every single day from journalists looking for experts, looking for tips, looking for opinions, looking for case studies, like hundreds and hundreds. They are actively looking for you. So if you're not putting your hat in the ring, then someone else is going to snap up that opportunity. So it's all about really like, and it comes back to that perfectionism. You said, I thought it was really interesting what you said about we have so many shoulds, especially as women. I should be doing this. When I do this, then I'll do this. Oh, but I should be at this level. I should look like this. That is absolute rubbish. Like it's just excuses. And it comes back to that perfectionism and imposter syndrome and releasing all of that in order to show up. Like you've got to release those things in order to show up. And it is so possible to get results. Like there are so many ways to get results that are easy. You could be getting results in 10 minutes a day. And like this is what I'm going to teach in an upcoming program that I've got. Like you can literally get results in 10 minutes a day. So why wouldn't you want to do that instead of spending 4 hours creating posts for Instagram that disappear, probably
There's
quicker
no
than your stories,
longevity. Yeah.
right?
No
Stories
long.
last 24
Yeah.
hours, posts last
Yeah.
even shorter. Like
Yeah.
I'm batting the algorithm. Do something that's going to last longer and give you that credibility and authority to help you stand out in a noisy online crowd. So many people are not doing this. They're
Yeah.
not doing PR. They're not maximizing this amazing free tool that's there. So they're just blending into a sea of the same. Like you've got to be brave and you've got to take that step. And you have to know certain things, have to have those brand foundations, like I said, but they are all easily figure outable. And then you get to create that magic and really harness the power of PR, which makes you stand out.
Yeah, I love everything you've just said, because also when you like you say, own your stories and you've got those principles in place, not only will that help you to go out and get press and PR and get more visible, but it makes all of your copy easier to write. It means your customer journey, it's all in alignment. Everything just flows in your business when you truly own your story, like the customer journey, the way that you're communicating it, the people that you're calling in, like just everything gets better. But also what I really love as well is what you were saying about your upcoming program, because we were saying earlier about the power of leverage as well. We sometimes make things
Yeah.
harder than they need to be. Like say, like we're delaying the success because it's like, oh well, I'm not quite there yet, I'm not quite ready yet. And we're making things harder than they need to be. So what I love about the program that you mentioned is that this is all about being supportive and collaborative and
Mm-hmm.
really tapping into basic fundamentals of business that
Yeah.
as in so sorry, you can go into a little bit more detail in a minute, but we were talking offline just about the power of leverage, so owning your story and then how do I amplify that, who have I got in my network and how do I amplify that, rather than working harder all the time. It's like you've got so many resources
Yeah.
available to you right now that could make everything easy, and yet we're trying to make it hard. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, do you agree that that's how we
Yeah.
tend to be as women?
Yeah, we're always looking at reinventing the wheel, aren't we? And it's
Yeah.
I often talk about the witch wound when I talk about PR and
Yes.
things like that, because we're so conditioned, like um generational there's generational trauma that we carry as women a
Yeah.
lot of the time. Like, that we were being burned at the stake really hundreds of years
Yeah.
ago for having a voice, for showing up, for telling our stories, for sharing our expertise. Wise women were witches,
Yeah.
and then I mean, this generation, even how many of us have been told as little girls, like, good girls are seen and not heard?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
all of that generational trauma that we carry keeps us playing small.
And
So
also,
in the program,
it's about the visibility as well, isn't it? Like, don't be too full of yourself. Like,
yeah,
she's like,
right.
God, look at
Yeah,
this
so men
one.
are
Like, yeah,
assertive and
yeah,
women are, bossy, or who
yeah,
does she think she is? Whereas a
yeah,
man standing up, like, really average, an average
yeah,
man
yeah.
has
Average
sometimes
white
more
guy.
success than an amazing, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Can have more success than a really talented woman because he's afraid to just stand up, even if he's talking absolute crap. If he
yeah.
says it with enough conviction, then he'll be
Everybody will
listened
believe
to.
him.
Whereas we're like, oh, can we say that? Oh, what are people going to think? Oh, I
Yeah,
don't want to do that. Actually, you've
yeah,
got to get over that. Got to get
yeah,
over that and move through it, because
yeah,
you've got so much to say. And like you said, the power in leverage, like leveraging your network, leveraging your stories, leveraging your voice, leveraging your results, like all of these things are really underutilized. And like you said, we try to make things, or a lot of the time it seems like we're trying to make things harder for ourselves when they could be easier. Like the path of least resistance, one of our dear friends Rachel talks about this, the path of least resistance, like that is absolutely key. Like, keep things simple. Scaling and simplicity go hand in hand. Like, simplicity is the key to success. So leverage what you've got, do the things that are going to work hard for you long term, instead of trying to constantly reinvent the wheel, churning out content, trying to be everything to everyone. Like, honing in on who you are, showing up powerfully in that space, and putting yourself out there so that you can build that credibility, that authority, that expertise, and be seen as that leader for the people who need you. Then leverage that in your network, in your other channels, in your spaces. Like, once you build that profile, you can leverage, and the two again go hand in hand. Leverage what you've got, build, leverage that, build. You can do all of those things. And that's really the fundamentals of getting success, especially with visibility and PR. And if you're not
yeah.
visible, that you can't be the best kept secret and create success, right? You've got to be visible. It is a cornerstone of success. You cannot have all the strategy and mindset and no visibility, because no one's going to know who you are. So it's a
Yeah.
real core piece that not enough people are talking about and harnessing outside of just social media.
Absolutely. Like literally, I just can't even echo everything you said. And I think like you cannot scale a business without simplicity, because there's too many moving
Right.
parts and you'll never be able to scale yourself out of it, which should ultimately be the dream. But it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing to me as a money mindset coach, how many women are not aspiring, we're not even aspiring to hit that leader status, that 6 7 figures, not even six, like
Yeah.
7 figures is really, you're on the path at least to true financial freedom. 6 figures, you've just got a really well paid job, like
Yeah.
genuinely, that's probably keeps you busier than you were when you were at work,
Oh
you
my
know.
gosh, right?
And it comes from like just removing the ego element of your business. I always say I have always approached business with a sense of curiosity, like
Oh,
genuinely,
love that.
because I didn't know what I didn't know. So I wasn't afraid to go in and ask questions and be the only person at a networking event when everyone's kind of like round the side and awkward, just eating the free lunches, that I'd be like, hey, what do you do? Like, like,
Yeah.
and sometimes like the naivety, I think, on the begin, like I've been in business now like 8 years, and I think that really has served me well, because I've realized that it is just about genuine connections, stories, relationships, relationships. Like, it's all the basic fundamentals. Like, even Stephen Bartlett will say, I am a terrible salesman, but what I'm really good at is telling stories. And that's
Right.
what people respond to. That's what activates action, essentially. That's what prompts somebody to really think like, oh God, like I need to work with this person because they're amazing. Like, I just love her story. I love her energy. Like, she's my type of person. They
Yeah.
can't even get to that if you're not, owning your story and getting visible. So one thing again that you kind of touched on about your mastermind that I feel really bloody passionate about, and I know that we're aligned in this, is about the power of leveraging your connections
Oh
and how
yeah.
you can grow your business there. So what's your kind of experience on that? Because I think I feel so like leaned into it because I never had that from other women in business. I've always been on the
Mm,
other side where it's been like, this sort of not mean girls, but just very closed chest, very cards very
yeah.
close to the chest. I've even invested in mentors and they've still not bloody even told me who their VA was. I'm like, I'm not going to steal her. I'm just like, like they
Oh
let
my
alone any of
gosh.
their mentors, connections, or anything like that. And I'm like, I just don't understand that mindset. It's keeping us small. But what would you say your experience is?
Yeah, I'm not here for that. Like that's not my life. I think that's why we
Yeah,
get on so well, to be
yeah,
honest. I actually have had that experience from being in business. So I suffered incredibly bad workplace bullying, really toxic workplaces from women in business, to the point where I was at the point of feeling suicidal, got a lot of therapy. It was really, really bad. And it was happening in two workplaces in different guises, but it really shocked me into how prevalent this is in the workplace, particularly where there's so much corporate trauma held
yeah,
from women to women, and
yeah,
actually that for me,
yeah,
this world, I was like, I'm not here for that. Like, I'm not
yeah,
here for that world. Like, I'm here for the women who want to help each other rise. Like, you don't need to stand on top of someone else to get to the top. It doesn't need to happen. So for me, the power in community is so great, because when you find your people, like we found our people. So for people who don't know, we're in a mastermind together, and we have found our people, right? Like when I joined this program earlier, I was like, oh my gosh, like here are my women. And I'd had that in a previous mastermind, which is amazing. And as we all grew together, I actually was with one of my coaches for about 18 months and went through different programs, and then finished up in a mastermind with a lot of the girls who'd been on the same journey through this particular coach. And we were so close knit and so amazing. And we really helped each other and we leveraged, and we've all grown together, a lot of us at the same pace, at the same time, which is incredible. So then to come into this community and feel the same thing, that is really powerful. And I knew that that was going to happen because I knew the coach we're with now had coached the previous coach I was with. So there was a
like
similar
an alignment of
atmosphere.
values. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. And it's really, I think we hear this quite a lot. Like you just mentioned, like there's so many programs where almost the coach is showing up externally differently to how they actually behave internally. So they sell, they draw you in, they're like really energetically attractive. Then you get into their program and it's totally different.
yeah.
And
You're dead to
that
me now.
is
I've
something
got
that
your
I really
money.
stand against. Right? That's it. And
Yeah,
you never see them again. And they might drop in like once a month to be like, oh, hey, 15 minutes. Like, no, that's not it.
yeah,
Right. So finding the community that you want to be a part of, where the values of every single person in that community and the coach and the people in their network are shared, is really important, because then you can leverage the power of that community and network.
yeah,
So, like you said, actually there's so many people already in your network, and for everyone listening, so many people probably already in your network that you could tap into and harness the power of that and leverage it. Like, I think when most people are starting out, a lot of the time you can get your first client or two clients from people, from people in
yeah.
your
Just in
network,
your current network. Yeah, just by being visible
exactly.
about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And there's a lot of fear around that, because people think that friends and family are going to be the ones that judge. And that's a lot of fear of judgment around your immediate network when you start out. I see that with a lot of new business owners. But actually, if you can tap into that, then find your place, like connect with people who share your values. That really skyrockets your success and puts you on the path to where you want to be much faster,
mm,
because you can lean on these people, and you can, someone's going to have an opportunity that they could share with you, or you can share an opportunity with someone else, referrals, podcasts, thinking about getting
yeah,
visible, guest writing, like, showing up in other people's each other's communities, doing guest sessions, guest masterclasses, when you're that little bit further on into the journey. There's so much opportunity there, and that's all PR as well.
yeah.
Accessing other people's audiences is all PR. It's not just about featuring in the press. So,
Well,
there's
that
so
trust
much out there
transfers,
that is
doesn't it?
PR.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that trust
100%,
transfers.
100%.
And I find when people get that initial resistance when they decide to go on to it, because I obviously didn't have an entrepreneurial family, if anything, it actually divided my friendship groups because I
Oh,
had to,
okay.
yeah, because I had to kind of relocate to be with my business. So there was that kind of distance element where, well, she's not here anymore. But also just, where I then was like, it's just a different version of me. When I was in corporate, I
Yeah.
was a very watered down, very like people pleasing version of me. When you suddenly realize that if I don't get out there and actually start making some money, like my kids are not eating, my bills aren't getting paid, you're suddenly like ready to take it up a notch and
Oh,
start to
yeah.
be a bit more like forthright in yourself, and just being mindful of how you're spending your time, your energy, all of those things. Like some people don't like that. What do you mean
Hmm.
you're not going to drive like 2 hours around the M25 just to come and have a coffee with the girls to stay relevant in our group? No, sorry, I've got work to do, so
Yeah.
that can be quite divisive. But a lot of the time I find people respond to your energy. So if you
Yes.
are approaching your business and you're like, I'm kind of doing this thing, it maybe might be like da, 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 and you're not really owning that space, people are going to mirror that back to you, and they're going to be like, oh wow, are you sure you can make money? Are you sure you've made the right decision? And but if you're like,
Hmm.
this is it, I know it's going to be successful, everything has led up to this moment, like this is my evolution, like people are going to celebrate you. So even more
Yeah.
reason why your work just has to happen at that beginning stage to really allow you to scale, because nobody's going to scale and become and known as a go-to expert in the industry if they're still like flip-flopping on what they're
Hmm.
doing, and they're kind of one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake, kind of half
Hmm.
in, half out. No one will refer you, and you will
Right.
not be able to build a brand or a presence based on that. You've really got to do that grounding foundational work first. But again,
100%.
I just love, it's about those basics, isn't it? Like we love to overcomplicate business and
Yeah.
put a lot of energy and time into like, oh, if I've got the perfect funnel and if I've got the perfect ad and if I've got the perfect email sequence, I'm going to be successful. But actually, you can make a shit ton more money just by, like you say, owning your space and leveraging what you've got at your disposal
Yeah.
now. And not only are you going to make more money, it will be with more aligned clients
Oh my
that are
gosh, yes.
actually like feeding what it is that you want to do as in terms of your higher purpose,
Hmm.
which I really love. And I also love, sorry, just like, so I'm just basically loving on Rhiannon right now. But what I also love is that you are probably like me as well, like super, like almost like a mama bear, like
Oh
protective
my
of
gosh,
the
yes.
energy of the collective of our masterminds, because you
Yeah.
are like safeguarding that energy and that container and making sure that everybody that's there, it isn't just can you afford it, it's about making sure that they are all of the same values, in alignment, and genuinely here to support each other, which feels
Hmm.
really, really refreshing as well as a coach to obviously see as well.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that actually really in my new mini mind that I launched a couple of months ago. Like the women in there, they are just championing each other right now, like supporting each other, and that's what I pride myself on, like having that community, championing other women. From what I just talked about with the experience of women not supporting women, for me, it's a huge value. It has to happen. It's a non-negotiable. I will not be in circles where bitchiness happens, where
Yeah.
drama happens, where people stab each other in the back. It is not my world. And
Mm.
if you come into my world and somehow you slip through the net and I see that happening, you're out. And it doesn't happen because they don't slip through the net anymore. I think you learn those
Yeah.
lessons early on in business, right? And you learn
Yeah.
what the red flags are and what kind of person you want to call in.
Yeah.
And often they do reflect ourselves. And we're exactly, yeah, right. You said we're exactly the same. Like for me, I will push you and I will, get you to have results and gently nudge you out of your comfort zone, but I'll also hold you and nurture you and make sure that you feel safe to be seen, to be heard, to be known, to be recognized, so that you can take that step. And it's going to feel bloody brilliant, right? You're going to feel like coated in stardust when you come and work in my world, because you're going to be held, but you're going to be pushed, and you're going to be pushed in a way that feels really great, because you're going to know that at the end of that discomfort comes the pot of gold, comes the client attraction, comes the sales, comes the expert credibility, comes being asked to speak on stages, like all of those amazing things. And so for me, that nurture part and that safe space and that community and that championing each other is really important, because there's enough space and money and opportunity in this world for everyone. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So come into my world and let's all rise together. Like that's how I feel.
Yeah.
And I know that you feel the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Like literally, and I genuinely feel when one woman rises and steps into her financial power, like the collective literally all take one step forwards or one step
Yes.
up or whatever. But genuinely, like this is what's going to change the world. If you think about like all
Yeah.
masculine leadership and male leadership all these years, what they've done, what shit state they've created. Like if
I
we had a
mean,
little change of leadership at the top, what amazing things we could do. So if somebody was like sitting there and like, actually, do you know what? Like just completely activated by this conversation. Like I was thinking I was going to do it, but maybe next year, maybe the year after. And now they're like, okay, I am ready to like claim that now.
yes.
What would be like the base? Like, what should they have in order? Like, is there like a process? Like, just do these three things and then like start doing the thing.
Yeah, of course. So
Yeah,
I think the best way to get started in terms of PR, for example, you would want to have what we call your media toolkit done. So that's a really great place to start because you have your media bio, which will outline your story, your superpower topics, like what you're able to comment on, your contact details. You basically create like a crib sheet. It's almost like your Bible.
like your
And
Tinder
that,
profile.
yeah, right. Your Tinder profile for business PR opportunities. Maybe a bit more in depth, no swiping, but exactly that. So that document becomes your absolute Bible. And you can use that to pitch to the press. You can use it to create content ideas. You can use it for when you get an opportunity come in. You could use it to create like a podcast pitching sheet. You can use it to pitch to other people for guest sessions. Like it's basically this one-stop shop to absolutely showcase who you are. So that's the first place I would start. And in your media toolkit as well, you need a handful of great images. So images are really important. Like please don't have blurry crappy images. Like that's, you'll just get thrown in the delete box. So make sure you've got good images. Now the next thing I would do is, and we touched on it earlier, that it could have been me exercise. So thinking about doing some research, like find some places that are writing about the topics you're talking about, or some podcasts that are featuring interviews on things that like similar topics. So maybe not exactly the same. So for example, I don't imagine that you're going to have another PR person on here next week, but
Yeah.
if someone's listening to this and they do, I don't know, reels, for example, like how to master your reels, like they might see this and be like, okay, cool. So actually, Rebecca really likes talking to guests about how visibility is a core part of business. How can I take that knowledge, put my angle on it, and
Yes.
then show that I'm a really valuable guest for her to have on her podcast.
Yeah.
So that exercise, that research exercise is a really, really fun and powerful way. It gets you the juices flowing, gets you feeling excited that there's opportunities out there. So I'd start with that, your media toolkit, getting the confidence going with the, thinking that there are opportunities, finding those places, and maybe creating a bit of a wish list of where you'd like to be seen.
Yes. I love
Now,
that.
yeah, it's really, really
I've
powerful
got my
stuff.
my dream 100, like
Tell
everything.
me your dream. What's your top one?
So in terms of magazines, it would be like Entrepreneur magazine because
Nice.
I'm just an entrepreneur at heart, and that for me is like the golden like stamp of credibility, I think, as a
Yes.
businesswoman. I'm here
Love
to do
that.
big things in that space. So Gary Vaynerchuk, move over.
Watch out, Gary.
Yeah, yeah. So that would, yeah, it's absolutely, I'm calling it in. Like, and it's
I
amazing how
love that.
quickly things can align when you get that intention.
Right.
Um,
And that's the purpose in the research. Like start to
yeah,
get that intention.
yeah.
So it's a bit of fun, but it also enables you to, exactly like you said, set that intention, like
And
get clear on where you want to
let other
be.
people know as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like speak it
Put it
into
out there,
existence.
manifest it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like we just said earlier about the power of leverage, if you tell people this is what, like a lot of the time, again, I've seen in women, even with my own clients, where they're like, oh, but I can't tell anyone what I'm doing because then they'll try and copy. And I'm like,
Mm,
well, they can't be you. So it's absolutely, even if they did, like they're going to take their own
yeah.
way to it. But it's like, actually, it's the reverse. Let everybody know.
Mm,
Because
mm-hmm.
that's how things will start to come to you and you end up attracting rather than chasing. Let people know
Yes.
what you're available for.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. So yeah, so just having those foundations in place, really, like being ready to go and doing a bit of research is like just that's sort of all you need. Just a bit of intention, get it feeling like it's possible for you, and that's a mindset exercise as well. So there's you're just having the foundations in place and having the mindset that this is possible and you are motivated to do it. Like that is the key thing. And then we get into the details, and I'm not going to go into logistics of exactly what you need, but once you have those things in place, even just the research piece, the belief, like that is the first step. believe it is possible, and start to find ways to make it happen. And then you can get in place, the media toolkit, all the other things that we've talked about. And when you have that core foundation ready, and you know who you are and where you want to be, and you start taking action on it, you'll start to see results coming in. So it's just about just like going for it, really, taking action, having the belief and taking action. They are the two core foundations of getting success with your visibility and your PR. Like it's possible for you, right? It's so possible for you, but you have to have the belief in yourself that it's possible and that you are going to do it and commit to the action. Like that's all it is.
And it can be sometimes that commitment, as in a lot of people are looking for quick wins. Oh, but if I just get so many followers, like and we're looking for those quick win metrics and hacks to success. But the reality is and definitely what I kind of instill in all of my clients is, I don't work with people unless they are ready for like a legacy based business.
Nice.
Like I'm not going to get you to, and I know there's books and stuff that are like make $1 million in a year. That doesn't excite me. I'm all about the collective. So I only want to work with the women that are here for the long term, that are, here to make a difference now and in the future. So if you already know that that's you, then why not start at this place where you are building your reputation and your own personal brand, as well as your following, as well as everything else. As long as you know who you are, whether your programs change or not, you are still going to be serving the same people, maybe in a different conduit, but like in a different container, sorry, but in the same way. Like start now. So that feels really amazing, because selling is serving genuinely, and even when that comes to selling yourself. So I love the fact that you were saying about we might even be PR agencies together, but there's still no reason why we couldn't help to collaborate, because we'll still be bringing different energy and different spins to the table. So even obviously, I can talk on multiple topics, but I've been on podcasts with other business coaches and with other money mindset coaches, because my connection to that work and that story is very different to somebody else's, so we've all got value to bring to the table. And don't be afraid to just go out there and, like you say, just in a very authentic, from a place of service way, just support other people's communities. Like,
oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, that's absolutely helped me in my business. Just complete side note, but I actually took a 6-month social media break at one point, and because I had just intuitively invested so much time at the beginning stages of my business building those connections and network, that actually meant that my business not only like maintained, but it actually grew massively with no social media content. Like, so that's like, just to give anybody a bit of context, like that's the longevity of the work that you're saying about. Like you could literally, and how would that feel? I'm sure a lot of us are really pissed off right now with the Instagram and Facebook algorithm. If you didn't have to post anything for 6 months, but you knew that because of the foundations that you put in place and the reputation that you built, that your business is going to grow regardless. Wouldn't that feel pretty amazing?
Right. And that's the legacy business, right? And I think we both share that, what you're doing and what I'm doing is all about that longevity, that legacy, that long term. If you want to get rich quick, cool, chuck a load of money behind Facebook ads, and I'm not sure they even work at the moment, but it's a different vibe. There's a different vibe between just throwing like all your effort into social media, growing super fast and making loads of money. Can you sustain that long term? Is that sustainable? Or is that, put some energy there, but also think about the other places that you can get visible. What's going to create the respect and the reputation and the trust long term? It's going to be those things like your network, getting visible, doing interviews in places, speaking on stages. For example, I went to a massive event recently, and it had some big speakers. So Stephen Bartlett, who've mentioned, Marie Forleo, Susie Ashworth, and it was incredible. And so there's two common denominators between them all. None of them got on that stage and sold. They all told stories. So again, what I said earlier, storytelling, not selling. And that is a theme throughout their whole presence everywhere. They are not like sell. They tell stories, they share angles, they share their opinions, their insight, what's happened to them, their journey, and people resonate with it. Now, the second thing was that every single one of them that came on that stage in their intro or at some point during their presentation, their stories, had a page that showed all of their media logos where they had been featured in influential press, because it's instantly recognizable. It builds that know, like, and trust. They deserve a place on that stage because they've got that credibility. So that is where just being on social media, like if you Google yourself and all that comes up is your Instagram profile, and then you've got a competitor or a peer who perhaps isn't as qualified as you or as good as you, but they've been featured in BBC, Cosmo, blah, 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 all of these amazing media outlets. Which one are people going to gravitate towards the most? Which one are they going to trust quicker? Because like you said earlier, trust transfers.
Yeah.
It transfers from, well reputed publications, podcasts, places where you're getting visible, that transfers as well. So actually, if you're not harnessing the power of that, maximizing the opportunity there, your legacy is going to be harder to build because you're just another social media business. And
Yeah.
I know that the women that listen to you are not going to want to be that, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about that.
I don't attract women that I just want to be an influencer and that's it. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's like, no, this is for the women that genuinely heart-led want to change the world. And what I loved
Yeah.
about what you said was where they are telling stories, and it circles back to what you were saying about perfectionism. No one can ever negate your own story and your own
Yes,
truth.
right.
So where we're worried about being perfect and having like knowing the absolute ins and outs of being the shit as it relates to like whatever your area of expertise is, yes, there could always be somebody with an alternative opinion and a brand, a better strategy or a latest update, but no one can negate your story. That it's
Mm,
your journey, it's your truth. So
yeah.
if you just stick to that as your guiding principle, then you can never not be perfect, exactly as
Yeah.
you are, exactly in this moment. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Rhiannon. That has just been like mind blowing. And I'm sure that there are so many women now that are like, even though I've kind of been saying, like, come on, like, please go back there and get more visible. I think this will have absolutely cemented it for them that it is now entirely possible for them for that next level of success and visibility. Just one thing I always like to finish with my guests, because we all approach business our own way, we've all got our own journey. But I'd love to know, if looking back now, if you were to start your business again tomorrow or be able to go back and speak to that version of yourself, what would be like your biggest piece of value for anybody that's kind of like just starting out, maybe something you should have done earlier or anything along those lines? What would it be?
There's a couple. Charge more. I charged absolute
Yeah.
peanuts at the beginning. I think everyone starts out charging far too little, but it's a confidence journey as well. And invest quicker in bigger containers. So invest in the communities that are going to help you to get the leverage you want to get. I think that's a really big piece. And a little bit about the self-belief as well. Like it took me quite a long time. I'm fanning around on social media. I was doing that far too much in the early days. And now I'm quite intentional with it. So invest in the support you need, both from like coaching or mentoring, team, all of that stuff. And raise your prices quicker than you perhaps want to, because actually you're going to be worth more than you think.
Yeah.
And just don't waste time doing busy work. Like focus on the things that are actually going to move the needle.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I literally echo all of that. Absolutely. And I think men have got that down quite well.
Oh yeah, my
Obviously,
husband doesn't do anything that in his
yeah.
in his work that doesn't like
In
benefit his job or make him money for the company. Like he's like,
Yeah.
nope, not my job. And I'm like, how did you just do that?
Yeah, we wrestle with it, but yeah, absolutely, I would echo all of that. So, just thank you so much for your time. You've been so
You're so
gracious in terms of
welcome.
all of the value that you shared. Really appreciate that. And for anybody who is looking for that next level of success, literally run, don't walk over to Rhiannon's page. She's about to launch something really incredible that is going to really help not only do all the things that she's promised. I have no doubt anybody that is within your space and your containers, like we're all going to know who they are absolutely in the next 6 months, but it's also done in a really beautiful way with a supportive community that is
Yeah.
just really going to amplify you and allow you to shine online, which just feels amazing. So you may also see me there too. um,
Ah.
so yeah, thank you so much. Obviously, for anyone who is listening, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much for having me.